Ooh, suddenly soundtracks are here to provide you. Suddenly soundtracks will show you care. Oh, be more the soundtrack inside you with sweet understanding. Oh, with sweet understanding. With sweet understanding. Soundtracks are your friend. Hey guys, welcome to this episode of Suddenly Soundtracks, the show where we judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. If you guys have seen our shows before, you know the drill. We go through the song list track by track and discuss each individual track and give a certain rating. The ratings are rockin', download it, shuffle it, one-time listen, or skip it. All ratings are pretty much self-explanatory about how you feel about the song. Would you just save it for shuffle and leave it for shuffle? Would you download it and keep it? Is it a rockin'? Is it a one-time listen, or is it just plain crap and you just skip it and you don't like the song whatsoever? But this soundtrack is amazing. This is Dreamgirls, and I am with two women in the Schmodown community that love the Schmodown, love musicals. First up is Alex Mack. Alex, how you doing? You're in the blind box. This is the first time you've seen this musical. So what are your thoughts on Dreamgirls?
I was like chatting with you earlier when I say, I feel like it's like 90% of Schmodown, like we're theater kids. We love musicals. We love to dance about on stage. It's, we're very much attention seeking. This is who we are overall, I feel like. But especially with this one, it's a wonderful movie. I'm very sad I did not watch this and listen to this, when I was in high school, which I was like really in my musical prime, actively watching all these musicals and everything. So I'm so excited you guys got me to watch this, because otherwise I might have never watched it, because it's amazing. And it's can't believe it took me so long to find it. Yeah. So I'm appreciative.
I'm surprised that it took me so long too, because I overlooked it myself when I was in high school. Yeah, but the person who loves this musical, Janine, what are your thoughts on Dreamgirls, and when did you first see it?
I saw it when it came out in theaters. I had heard about the cast, and I'm all about representation, so all Black cast, Black musical. I had heard a lot about the musical, but I hadn't heard of it beforehand. And just great representation of what Black people contributed to music in general. Just a great story and powerful performances. I mean, Jennifer Hudson won an Oscar, and I think it was solely based on her singing performance, mostly more than anything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, super powerful, great story and great music for sure.
I feel like that's a whole other conversation, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, talking about, its relationship, musicals, especially its relationship with Oscars and everything. Yeah. But because Oscar winning musicals is a whole category in and of itself. But
it is.
Honestly, watching this, I'm like, Jennifer Hudson, you're amazing in every single way. Your voice is epic, but also Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
He got
nominated too.
Yeah. He should have won.
Yeah.
To me, it was just so much. I don't want to say it's more deserving, because I mean that's neither here or there, but I could not take my eyes off him, even when he was just like it was just so subtle the way he went about it, and like so nice.
He just exuded charisma.
Nice, but but at the same time, but not in a douchey way, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Maybe he's very charismatic.
He was very charismatic.
He's come a long way from Party All the Time in those leather pants. I'll tell you that.
110%. All right, guys, we're going to dive right into this soundtrack, though, because we have plenty of show to get to. We have a ton of songs here. So we're going to go into the first track, Move, which essentially, it's not the first track in the film. It's the first track on the soundtrack. We were introduced to this kind of, I would say, talent show, or whatever, a battle of the bands kind of thing in the 1950s, whatever you would call it. And there are some really good songs. I especially like the the African American guy that won the show. His song was phenomenal.
Tiny.
He was phenomenal. His song's great. I wish it was on this version of the soundtrack we were doing because it's a bop. It's a super bop. But this is Move. Janine, I'm going to give you the honors. What are your thoughts on Move the song?
Definitely a 5 out of 5 for me. It hits all the points. I like that it's really kind of upbeat and fast paced, and then it gets to the kind of smooth parts. And Jennifer Hudson's voice is just so powerful, but it doesn't overpower the song. And you can kind of just get a sense of who these girls are just from hearing this song. Just love the power in it and kind of the balance of the kind of fast tempo going into the nice slow parts.
I echo those statements, Alex.
I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, like watching it right away. I was literally trying to make pizza, and the entire time I was like watching it, and at the same time I was like, while chopping my tomato, and I'm like, I probably shouldn't dance while chopping my tomato because but again, like this whole soundtrack, this entire thing is wonderful, but it is my last place, unfortunately. That's because I love all the songs that much more. Going through it, I was like, I have a hard time saying this one is better than the others, but at the same time, like I just love the others so much more than the opening song.
When you for an opening song though, especially for the soundtrack, taking the film aside, it needs to build the world, and it needs to give you what the kind of chemistry these girls have. Because when you go through the soundtrack, we're going to go through it. These girls don't sing together that much because of the split that happens solo wise. There's only like 2 or 3 songs where these girls are solo, not backup, singing together, and this is one of them. And I wish that it musically stood up to those songs that are going to be later in the show, because this is supposed to be the opening number. It's supposed to be bombastic. It's a good song, but I wouldn't consider it one of the best to me. I would consider it a download it. Jenny, what do you give it?
I give it a 5 out of 5 for me, just because I like, and I don't think that, maybe at that time, a lot of kind of ad-libbing was done, and Jennifer Hudson does a lot of that. So I think that's very impressive. I just loved kind of the beat of it. I loved the balance of the slow and fast parts of it. And I just thought it was a great punch to introduce these characters.
It is a punch. It's a valid opinion. Alex, what do you give it?
I definitely thought I would rock it.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Cool.
Honestly, it's again very jumpy. I know for a fact I'm gonna listen to it tomorrow or later tonight. Okay. So I mean, it's inevitable.
it's really interesting that this is your last place, and you still have plenty more to go to, and you still like it. So it's not a terrible song in the slightest. Yeah. So we're just gonna go to track number 2 though, which is "Fake Your Way to the Top." Alex, so what are your thoughts on this song?
I'm just trying to check my list real quick.
Oh, cool.
Wait. I can't find that one. Where'd I put that one? I can't find that one. Can we get a reminder on that one? I can't remember.
Yeah. You can listen to it really quickly. Okay. I'm gonna go through it. Okay, and then I'm just gonna throw it to Janine. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. In 3, 2, 1. Then we go into track number 2, which is "Fake Your Way to the Top." Janine, I'm gonna ask you 2 things. What are your thoughts on this song, and what is the context of it in the film?
I really liked this song. I like that you kind of got a sense of each girl's voice kind of right at the start, and then how their chemistry is eventually going to be with Jimmy going down the line. Basically kind of what it says, fake your way to the top. We're just thrown into this opportunity, and they kind of have to fake it until they can kind of make it on their own. So definitely love another kind of fast bass. I love kind of like the quick tempo of it. And the power of Eddie Murphy kind of just like squealing and hollering, and definitely great compliment to the girls' voices. But I just love kind of that beginning when each of them get their little moment and you see their little sense of personality and style in their little intro parts. Yeah.
After their talent show, they actually get hired as the backup performers for Eddie Murphy's character. And this is basically the James Brown introduction to his performance. This shows you how charismatic Eddie Murphy is. Now, Alex, I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on Eddie Murphy's performance and your thoughts on the song and just his chemistry on set?
I mean, like we were kind of mentioning earlier, I mean, like every time he's on screen, you really cannot take your eyes off him. Honestly, to me, every song that he's in is probably one of my favorite songs of the entire movie. Now, every time he's on screen, I just can't take my eyes off him. And that includes phenomenal actors, including, Jamie Foxx. You can say that Beyonce is not an actress or anything, but in this movie, I felt like she was very believable. I really thought it felt like a very genuine performance as well. But, like I mentioned, everyone involved in this movie is fantastic. But Eddie Murphy is like on a different level. It feels like such a subtle performance. And the way he is able to project that kind of character through as a performer portraying another performer that's based on another real life performer. Because watching this, I'm like, I see the references there. I see what you're doing there.
But he still makes it his own, I think.
Exactly. And I loved all the tidbits of information. I wanted to go back and research a lot of things. He's like, you see all these references to other artists, and he's like, I did it before that guy. I made that cool before that guy, and kind of thing. So I kind of wanted to do research about his character in particular. Then I was like, oh wait, he's not real.
No, everybody in the movie is based on. There's like a Jackson 5 equivalent. There's everything.
Exactly.
It's all that era. So what do you give this James Brown inspired song, Alex?
Oh, again, it was my top 5. I would probably say it's what's the best one?
Rocket.
I guess Rocket. Yeah, Rocket. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Janine, what are your thoughts on what do you give it?
I'd give it a download it.
Okay, cool.
I think the other song was stronger just because of the Jennifer Hudson's voice, but I like what Eddie Murphy's doing here. So I definitely download it.
Yeah, I love how you just listen to it and feel his chemistry and feel just the power and the performance on stage. I gave it a Rockin' 2. Rockin' 2. I just feel like it's a phenomenal song. I think we're all in agreement to that. But we're gonna get into track 3, Cadillac Car. This is the earworm that basically they write together and is their first real major hit together on the radio. Now they make a point. There's also a version of Cadillac Car in the show where there's the white people that are singing it, and that actually is is what happened to get. Like, look at Fats Domino and Little Richard with Tutti Frutti. Their songs would not be as popular as they are now because back in the day they had to have white people to sing it, to perform it, to market it to the white audience. It was a backwards time back then, but that's how they did it. And it was a great kind of transition. Obviously, their version of Cadillac Car is the superior version, which is on the soundtrack, but the white person version is kind of cute too. Alex, what thoughts on Cadillac Car?
I thought it was fantastic. It was very, I loved the bebop kind of vibe that had going on. And again, them as a trio is fantastic. And I felt bad because I actually kind of enjoyed the version. I was like, this is actually kind of soothing. It's just a different vibe and I appreciate it. And I felt bad. But at the same time, I'm like, no, they're stealing the song. But yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it's the amount of times that happens, not only, that happens a lot today too. Not only especially that back then, with R&B and rock taking $1 million to one things from R&B and soul at the time, but even today, I mean, like a lot of the original songs and a lot of music and everything was taken from going back to disco and, a lot of music that became popular in the LGBT community. And that was taken from them and really put into, once you put a much more traditional face on it, suddenly it's popular. Go figure.
But back then, a person of color did not own their right to songwriting or own anything. And you're going to get that with the disco transition thing we're going to get to later. But this is a phenomenal track. It's an earworm. Janine, what are your thoughts on Cadillac Car?
For me, it's definitely not my favorite.
Okay.
I like that it's a great illustration of what was happening at the time with, songs getting stolen and all that kind of stuff. But for me, I don't think the hook was very memorable. And it's just a little bit corny to me, just the lyrics and stuff. So, I mean, I guess that's kind of an average kind of thing to sing about at the time, but it was just a little bit corny for me. So not my favorite.
How dare you, Janine, have your opinions about this song?
I mean,
and get out. No.
Yeah, and I think that's what it was going for, because it was kind of like Little Richard. Tutti Frutti doesn't mean anything. Good golly, Miss Molly doesn't mean anything. So it's a cute little ditty. I liked it. I gave it a download. It's not my favorite. Alex, what would you give it?
I personally, I would definitely give it a one time.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Janine?
I would definitely give it the one-time listen.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
Cool. It's not the perfect song, but it's not terrible. We're going to go into track number 4, which is Steppin' to the Bad Side. This one's a bop. Janine, what are your thoughts on Steppin' to the Bad, which is technically the villain song of the film?
Yeah, so it's kind of badass. Like it's one of my favorites, actually. I really love this song. Just because like at this point we're hearing a lot of female voices and you're expecting to hear a lot of female voices. So I like that it's all kind of guy song and it's very slick and cool. And just a little bit sinister. And Jamie Foxx, he has a very smooth voice. Just love the slickness and the smoothness of this song so much. Really love this one.
Jamie Foxx is essentially the villain of the film. This is sort of where you can see his dark side coming out, to where he's not just caring about the music, he's caring about the profit, which is two separate different things. And this is a good way to establish that. Alex, what are your thoughts on Steppin' to the Bad Side?
I think it's really great. It's like one of those songs. It's a wonderful song. I think it's like one of those really great character defining songs. You know, I feel like a lot, like all musicals have. But for him in particular, the moment he's introduced, you see his, when he's seen the girls like walk away from the building with their suitcases and everything. They're like, no, we will never work with him again, kind of thing. You see he's all in shadow, smoking a cigarette, watching the situation happen. And he's like I said, he's like a majority in shadow. And that's usually representative of, how he's not supposed to be the good guy. But later we see him mostly in brighter colors and everything. And, so right away you get this gut instinct that he's supposed to be some kind of villainous bad guy. But later on you're like, no, he's supposed to be a good guy. He's, with CC, he's with Effie and everything. And suddenly you're like, oh, wait. So, and you kind of realize that he is, from the very beginning, he has been manipulating his relationship with Effie, especially in order to make this group happen. But it's such a really great character defining song, though. I'm not gonna lie, but I would have to say Rocket.
It's a rockin'. It's a rockin' music. And
that guy.
The choreography is phenomenal.
The dance break. Oh I love that dance break.
It's phenomenal. You would give it a rockin' too?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, that's what I figured. We're all in unison with this one. Step into the backside is a keeper. All right, we're gonna go into Love You I Do. Effie sort of becomes a little bit of a diva and really wants her own solo in the show, which is kind of understandable. You have this big show, you have 3 singers. Why not feature people? And this is kind of the song Love You I Do that she wants to feature herself, and she sings it straight to Jamie Foxx, and she gets unequivocally denied. Alex, what are your thoughts on Love You I Do?
Man, this song hurts my soul.
It does. Her voice is phenomenal.
It's such a really great performance. It's. I mean, there's nothing more to say about it. I mean, I feel like there's so many songs, especially in musicals, that really focus on love, on jealousy, and having those relationships with characters that you cannot be with. Obviously, but this one is like also one of the songs where it's just like. I felt it in my soul. I don't know. I felt there was a real grittiness that I really appreciated. That also I didn't expect at the same time, because Jennifer Hudson, and her voice is phenomenal. It's so smooth. So I didn't expect that girthiness, if that makes sense, like hardiness. That also came along with that.
Yeah. The thing is, though, that with the song, even though it doesn't really jump out at you as a notable song in the actual, it's easy to forget. Her point, her personality, and it kind of dignifies what her motivation is. She just wants to be noticed. She wants the attention because she feels like she has a good voice. And on every surface level, that makes a ton of sense. Janine, what are your thoughts on Love You I Do?
Yeah, I like that it's kind of her showcasing, because it said a lot, even by other characters, that she has a crazy voice that's not like anybody else's. So I think this song is pretty simple, and it feels a little bit more modern than the other songs, which I do like. And I think like it is a simple song, but the way she sings it and her vocals make it special, give more to it than what I think it would be sung by anybody else. Yeah.
The only downside to this is it's very forgettable, sadly. It's not that memorable of a song. So to me, it would be a one-time listen, just because as a song itself, I just don't really feel like I remember it too much. Well, Janine, what would you give it?
I give it a download it.
Okay. It's Jennifer Hudson's voice is phenomenal. Alex?
Same.
Okay. Download it, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, her voice is phenomenal. There wasn't really much to go on with that one. This one, I Want You Baby, is interesting. I Want You Baby. I forget what this one is too. Give me
This
one
is the
second.
one when they sing it
for a minute. Can you play it for a minute?
when they sing at the White Club. When they sing at the White Club, and like people are kind of put off. They're trying to like sell.
Yeah. They're trying to sell it, and
he's like gyrating at that girl.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the stage thing. Yeah. Sorry, a couple of these songs just meld in with each other when you watch the film. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Let me listen to this again. I Want You, Babe. Okay, yeah, it's basically Eddie Murphy doing James Brown again. All right. I'm just going to go 3, 2, 1, and I'm just going to go straight to you, Janine, and I'll give you time to listen, Alex, okay, if you need to, okay? In 3, 2, 1. Then we get into another Eddie Murphy song, I Want You, Baby, which essentially this is where they're at this gala, and there's a bunch of white people, and they're trying to impress them, and they're trying to give them the soul that really they're not as familiar with as with people of color. And it's a phenomenal scene, and it's a phenomenal performance, and they all seem to be both blown away and confused, and it's a very mixed response, but the song itself is very James Brown again. I love Eddie Murphy's performance. Jeannie, what are your thoughts on I Want You, Baby?
It's kind of a little bit painful to watch because it's a little bit embarrassing seeing him kind of
cringy a little bit
forced into a box, because it's this whole kind of manager thing where Jamie Foxx is trying to like take over from Danny Glover and take over his career and sell him to like white people. So that's not really Jimmy's brand. So when you hear him sing this, you know, you can feel him holding back and not being able to do what he really wants to do. So at a certain point in the song, he kind of tries to put his flavor into it, and people aren't really having it. So it's a little hard to, you know, hear this song kind of knowing the context of, you know, that it's really putting Jimmy's powerfulness into a little kind of box.
Yeah, it's kind of also a foreshadowing to his like rap kind
later
of
breakdown,
which ironically the audience was more receptive to.
Because of the audience.
The audience. But yeah, this is a very cringy scene. But Alex, what are your thoughts on the song itself?
Cringy as heck, but did I enjoy it? Yes.
It's Eddie Murphy. It's Eddie
Murphy at the end of the day. He's doing his thing. And also, this is like one of those songs where I have a very difficult time isolating itself from the performance because it's Murphy again. But, you know, at the same time, it's sung very well. It's a really cool song. It's not my favorite. I would definitely have to give it a shuffle or a one time. It does make me uncomfortable, but I like it at the same time. If that makes sense. It's like watching The Office.
I'm giving it a shuffle too because of A, Eddie's performance, and B, you don't get the whole cringiness when you're listening to it. You get the actual song itself, and the song itself is great. It's basic. I hate to say the comparison, but it's basically James Brown. He's essentially the equivalent of that kind of performance from that kind of era, and it's still a bop. I would shuffle it. It's nothing special though compared to everything else on the soundtrack. But Janine, what do you give it?
I would give it a one-time listen.
Okay,
it's really hard for me to kind of separate the context of the movie, and it's kind of it slows things down because you're kind of getting these kind of upbeat things, and then you get this kind of slow-paced song, and then this forced kind of like James Brown essence that he's trying to like throw in at the end of this kind of ballad song. So definitely kind of a one-time listen for me.
Yeah. Now we're going to get into where the change already happens. This is essentially where Effie is broken the news that she's not going to be the lead. Beyonce's character is going to be the lead. And this is all about them trying to unite Effie with them as a family in the dressing room. And it's a song essentially about that, telling Effie that we need to stick together. We are family. It's very, very upbeat, but also being that this is judged by the soundtrack, this song is exceptionally situational. Because this song essentially tells you what's happening through dialogue in the scene. And although it's necessary for the film 110%, I don't think it translates well. If you even put this in a shuffle list, it doesn't make too much sense. I don't know if you guys agree with me with that or not, but Alex, so what are your thoughts on Family?
I totally agree. I mean, it's one of the songs that's necessary for context, but I'm not going to sing it in the shower, so... Yeah, it's not a standalone song, but it's a very necessary song at the same time.
Janine?
I mean, if you hear it without the context, it could be kind of like a corny kind of concept. But and it's also kind of a weird thing. Like, it's very emotional and you think it's very sweet
Mhm.
and nice, but it's actually like a huge kind of manipulation.
It's a manipulation, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I like the kind of love you hear in the voices of it, but then
Mhm.
yeah, when you kind of think about the context, it's kind of a weird manipulation. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not something I'm gonna listen to on repeat.
Yes.
Yeah, I would actually, honestly, so it's either a skip it or one time listen for me because it's just not that interesting of a song to really play on any sort of level besides seeing it in the film.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the context of it makes everybody seem fake and unlikable.
Yeah.
Not stuff you really want to associate with something when you're trying to escape from reality when you're listening to music.
Yeah.
And that's what music is. Yeah. So what do you give it, Janine?
I would give it a skip it. Yeah, I mean, with the context, it's a manipulation, a kind of manipulative, kind of terrible song, like in the attitudes of the people, like you said. And then not without the context, it's just kind of a little bit corny. So I would give it a skip it.
Yeah, Alex?
Honestly, same with the context. I actually like it more.
Of course.
Yeah.
I love songs that are like from the point of view of the bad guys kind of thing, where they're kind of being evil and doing that kind of thing. But at the same time, if I'm taking away the performance and all that great stuff, it's like,
Yeah.
Just so you know, we're skipping this on the soundtrack. This scene is 110% necessary for the actual film itself. This song is completely warranted and needed to happen. It's just something had to fall on the sword.
Yeah.
All right. Then we get into the title track, Dreamgirls. And I'm going to say this right here and right now. I don't feel like the title track is anything special. I feel like the title track, Dreamgirls, even the reprise at the end when we get Jennifer Hudson, really, really falls flat as a title track, in my opinion. I don't feel like there's a lot of notoriety around the song itself, musically, instrumentally, anything that makes it super special. You both are free to disagree with me if you want. I'm going to throw it to you, Alex. What are your thoughts on the title track of Dreamgirls?
I just want clarification. Does that include both
we're going to do
end, or
we're going to do the ending one at the end as the finale.
Oh, okay. So just the first part.
Yeah, just the first part.
I think it's fine. I mean, it's like, it is, like you said, one of the most, I don't like to say quotable, but I mean, it is the title of the movie. Yeah. So obviously it's definitely stuck in the brain more than several others, including like Cadillac, things like that. But at the same time, like you said, it's compared to a lot of the songs, it would probably be in my top 7 or 8 songs, but it wouldn't be like in my top 5.
Yeah, it doesn't sound to me like a #1 hit from that era, if that makes any sense. Janine, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but what are your thoughts on Dreamgirls?
Yeah, I could see why you would think that. Like, it's supposed to be their big kind of debut, and it's a little bit kind of mediocre, a little bit average. I like kind of the up-tempo beat of it. Their voices blend really well together. They all kind of have a little moment in the song, which we don't get that a lot of in a lot of their group songs, because, at a certain point, it's just Dina, nobody else. And for it to be kind of this big memorable moment, I think I wanted more from it. But I definitely, for like a single, I could see it because it is kind of a memorable hook. Like, I could sing this, like when I put the movie and I was singing this song, because I remember, how it sounds. Yeah. So for the sense of it being a single for a debut group, I like the kind of what am I trying to say? The hookiness of it, but for a big debut, I wanted more.
Yeah, I wanted more.
Wanting more.
I wanted more too, but being as it is the title track, and it does have that notoriety, and it does have that chorus that people can hum because it's in the trailer. I would say that you can't give it anything lower than a download. It's something that is necessary for the soundtrack itself. By itself, it works, and it also is a good kind of opposite to what the reprise is when they get to feature Hudson, and we'll get to that. Alex, what do you give it?
Honestly, I would probably say download it as well. I mean, I'm definitely going to listen to it. I think it's a great song, but at the same time, it's not the strongest of the bunch, and and I like that it showcases all 3 ladies' wonderful voices. Like you said, Janine, that doesn't happen very often in this movie. I mean, I like it. I don't love it. So again, download it.
Yep. Janine?
Yeah, definitely download it for me. It gets stuck in your head, but definitely not the big kind of booming thing you want for the debut title song,
It's very, very melancholy, but we're going to get into It's All Over, which is essentially the breakup. It is done between Effie and the girls, and she's essentially, because she's been acting up and being a little bit
of a diva,
wanting more solos, wanting more attention. She the entire crew just decides to let her go, and through this song again, this is another song like Family that pretty much works in the context of the film. That's necessary, but does not work by itself, in my opinion. Other opinions could differ. I'm going to go to you, Janine. What are your thoughts on It's All Over?
Well, I think just the difference with Family, like you get a lot of the dialogue in singing in the song. So you're getting, unlike Family, you're getting a lot of the context as part of the song. So I like that more. I like that it's kind of telling the story and the back and forths. So you feel kind of the emotion more. You can even if you had no idea what was happening, you could maybe kind of build a picture, visualize a scene of it in your head because you're getting the dialogue of them fighting through their singing. So I like that aspect of it. And I like that it's a good build for what's coming next, which I think
is. Yes, we're going to get to that. Yep.
So I like that the build of it. I like that it does have more context within the song, unlike Family did.
It does. And I will give it that. It does feel like you're listening to the song basically off a DVD as you're listening to it. And that is good. I wish that more soundtracks would do that, be that context.
Yeah.
A big example is like Poor Unfortunate Souls, where you have all this dialogue with Ursula. Yeah. But there's also a giant window of instrumental music that just doesn't really matter unless you have the context of what's happening to Ariel. This is kind of the same exact thing, but the opposite, to where it's actually it tells you what's happening. But again, is that really what you want to listen to on like a daily basis on shuffle? Alex, what are your thoughts on It's All Over?
This song actually kind of reminded me of, I hate keep bringing up Hamilton. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
But like in Hamilton, where there's two cabinet meetings between Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton, where they're just having battles, verbal battles. And should we battle France? Whatever, things like that. But it kind of reminded me of that, where if you don't know the context, it's like really kind of off-putting. It's very tempting to skip. But also at the same time, that is one of my favorite songs of all time of Hamilton. And actually listening to this, that's what kind of reminded me of. And I love a lot of the, the sparring between these two very strong, stubborn, wonderful characters. And I love that really go back, and they're really at each other's level, and their voices are phenomenally, the way they really kind of balance each other vocally is really awesome as well. And so even not watching the movie, this song by itself, I think it's a good standalone personally, but I also like that back and forth when it comes to musicals as well.
It has that quality in Greatest Showman with the other side, where Zac Efron and Hugh Jackman are doing it. I like those kind of dialogue stuff. It does translate. What would you give it, Alex?
I would honestly have to say I would rock it.
Oh, wow.
But I like, again,
that's fine.
That's my thing. Like the cabinet meetings is one of my favorite songs to sing in the shower. I mean, it's just what can you do?
That thing. I would give it. I'm a lower. I would give it a one-time listen. To me, I'd said it's not something I would put on shuffle. But again, that's why we have to be people. Difference of opinion is always interesting. Janine, do you side with me? Do you side with Alex? Are you in the middle? What do you?
I think I'm kind of in the middle. I would maybe shuffle it.
Okay.
I like that it's kind of telling a story, and I like the kind of back and forth vocals, and I like getting the individual vocals, because these are all great singers, and we mostly hear them either sing together. So I do really kind of latch onto those moments when we get to hear their individual voices, and them kind of like battling each other with their voices is kind of a cool concept. So I would give it a shuffle it for sure.
Speaking of shuffle, Janine, I'm going to give you the honors for this one.
Okay.
I am telling you I'm not going. Okay, so Janine, I'm going to ask you two things. What is the context of this song with Effie, and what are your thoughts on Jennifer Hudson's performance and the song itself? I'll let you go.
Okay, so this is powerful. This is her telling, even though everybody's gone from the room at this point, and she's still there standing her ground, telling them that she's here. She's going to do what she wants to do. She's going to do things on her terms. You are not getting rid of me. And she knows like it's already too late, but she can't just let it happen. So she has to at least give this last like little bit of fight in there. So 100%. Powerful, so emotional, gut wrenching. Like you can't not like have a tear in your eye watching this performance. Just completely epic on all levels. Love it, love it, love it.
She puts her heart on her sleeve.
Yes.
This is based on a Broadway musical, and I would assume that this song was the showstopper.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Jennifer Hudson has a voice beyond imagination. Yeah. Alex, what are your thoughts on Telling You I'm Not Going?
It is my third favorite song of the whole thing. And I mean, like just echoing everything you guys are saying. It's amazing. And not to mention, it's like one of those situations you can really, even without seeing the movie, just listening to it, you can really feel the desperation, the anger, the frustration in her voice. And and she just got back from the hospital, her character did. And so she's also, she kept like mentioning herself, and he's like, I'm in pain at the same time, I hurt. Yeah. And, you know, obviously that's not just referring to physical pain. She's also talking about, it's like how she's like between her and the manager with Curtis. And, you know, this is something that's been harboring there for a long time. So you got that kind of manifestation, physical manifestation in there that's been like honing in and festering for a while. But when it's finally released, it's like popping a thing of champagne. It's like everywhere. It's really wonderful when it happens, and it shakes you to the core. It really does. And you're right. Did I shed a tear? Maybe. I'm not going to deny or confirm a single thing though.
It's also a good kind of close to her character for the time being, because we don't really see much of Effie for a hot minute. And I feel like that's necessary, because you need a breather from what I consider this is probably the best song in the film. I give it a very, very high marks. Hard rocking indeed. Janine, what do you give it?
Definitely rocking all the way. Just 5 out of 5. You can feel the emotion just listening to it. It's hard to believe that this is somebody that Simon Cowell said could not sing, you know, on American Idol. So just definitely super emotional, super powerful.
Jennifer, you just don't have the talent anymore. Like I can't imagine,
right?
Simon, like I don't remember. I remember she was on American Idol, but I can't remember her actually performing on the show. But Simon being Simon, I can just picture him being like, "I've heard it before." Joker.
Now, Alex, you said that this was your third favorite. Am I assuming that this is a rockin'?
Yeah, absolutely. It's again one of those songs. And maybe this song is like one of those songs because you even again, I don't have a good singing voice, but this song makes me wish I did, because you feel everything in it. And you know, there's only a few other songs that I enjoy more. So
and this has that quality from Hairspray. If you've seen Mama, Queen Latifah has a song similar to this.
Yes,
that's phenomenal. And I think she played her in the live version of Hairspray too, Jennifer Hudson. So this is phenomenal. So high marks across the board.
Yes.
So now that Effie kind of leaves the picture for the time being, we get kind of a solemn note. Jamie Foxx's character starting to take control over Beyonce's character, and this kind of is a little bit more like a lot. And this song kind of shapes that control. It's When I First Saw You, and it's essentially his love letter, so to speak, to Beyonce's character. And it's, again, even though it's cute, it's very manipulative.
Yeah.
Alex, what are your thoughts on When I First Saw You, Jamie Foxx's song to Beyonce?
I'm not a huge fan of this song, but Jamie Foxx is such a talented singer. You can't deny it. It's so smooth and again manipulative. And again, I do love songs about bad guys. And you know, listening to it, it's a great song because he's in this transition where he's not only wanting to take more control, creative control of her image, of her music, of the band as a whole, but also he's in the situation where he's actively trying to manipulate her into what he thinks that she should be. You know, he's married to her. He has been at this point for a little bit, but at the same time, he hasn't taken as much control as he's wanted to until now. And doing this, he's just pretty much saying, hey, can I get the okay from you that I can make you Cleopatra, even though you don't want it? Even though Beyonce would be a banging, awesome Cleopatra.
She would be.
Yes. When I saw that picture of her being Cleopatra, I was like, yes. Can I
love that.
Can I go fight somewhere?
Yeah.
A movie now. But it was kind of funny referencing that movie. I understand it's but he kept bringing it was like, imagine all these, you know, all
girls are gonna see
all up to you and everything. And he's like, and he's really kind of trying to manipulate her through that image on what he's created, this image that he's creating of her. He's not in love with her. He's in love with his idea of her. Yeah. And I feel like that's what's really used in the song.
The problem I have with the song actually is it just doesn't know what it wants to be. Because during the credit sequence, they make a duet version of it, which is on the soundtrack as the last track. We're just going to discuss that now if you listen to it or not. It's the same thing, just Beyonce has more verses that coincide with her. And the song just doesn't make sense. I mean, the scene does, and his manipulation does, but the songs and lyrics don't really. I mean, it's love at first sight, it's generic stuff, but it just doesn't grasp me. I don't know, Janine, what are your thoughts on when I first saw you?
The vocals make it special for me just because it sounds so beautiful. But you're kind of fighting with yourself. You want to believe it's genuine. You want to believe these words mean something more than him kind of seeing her as a product. Like, to say someone is your dream, and then that dream is to kind of make money and like force somebody to do things that, you know, they don't want to do. It's kind of a very twisted thing. So you're kind of having this fight with yourself on like what this song really means, and you kind of want to take it as how beautiful and nice it sounds, but it's a little bit hard to do that. But his vocals, just if you're just listening to it not knowing anything about the movie, I think his pure kind of sweet, smooth vocals, like you said, make it a beautiful song to me. Just listening to it as a song. I do appreciate the complexity, though. It is a complex song, but it's for me, it's kind of hard musically to grasp around. So I wouldn't necessarily say skip it, but I would give it a one-time listen. It's on the lower tier for me. What would you give it, Alex?
I would honestly say shuffle it, but also I do think the duplicitous nature of the story is actually a good reflection of the kind of music it's portraying, because obviously it's saying one thing and meeting another, especially between these two characters. He's seeing her character for the first time being behind the camera. Essentially, he's seeing her for the first time while she's modeling and doing her thing, voguing it up. And that's why he's falling in love with. He's falling in love with the idea of her, the image of her. And so, again, this duplicitous in nature where he's singing to her in this beautiful, smooth way where it's meant to be very surface level. And knowing that really actually makes me enjoy it more, honestly. So I would say shuffle.
That's completely acceptable. Janine?
I would give it a shuffle it as well. I mean, I am a fan of Jamie Foxx's voice in general. Like, I do own some of his albums outside of, you know, this movie. So I do love his voice. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if this song came up on a playlist or if I just had my music on shuffle.
Well, as the girls are reaching success, Eddie Murphy is not. He's being forced by Jamie Foxx's character to kind of do these ballads that he doesn't want to do, exemplified in the ballad Patience. Although that he didn't like doing it, he doesn't like doing these wishy-washy stuff. I think Eddie Murphy's ballad credentials are great. I think the ballad sounds good. I don't see any problem with it, even though it's kind of not his James Brown style. It's something different. Patience also kind of lets him harmonize with the girls a little bit more. Janine, what are your thoughts on Eddie Murphy's performance of Patience?
Well, I think this song is like
Yeah.
this is actually a song he was excited to do. He was excited to do something different. I think it's kind of in the vein of kind of getting into the 70s and like all the kind of things that were going on in the world. And it was a kind of a message song. And I think he liked that. He was excited about doing something different. And it was like the first time he was excited about something in a while. And I think it was kind of maybe in the vein of a Marvin Gaye. And so I think since that's what they were trying to do, the song didn't have any kind of like that good vibe that a Marvin Gaye kind of 70s song has. So I was looking for that in a song that was kind of trying to be that. And I didn't really get that. So not one of my favorite songs. I do like that it's kind of a duet with Anika Noni Rose's character because I love her. She's Princess Tiana, so I love her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So I love that she got to be a little duet with him. But if it was kind of supposed to be a Marvin Gaye type 70s message song, it didn't kind of have that soul and groove that I would want from like a song that's supposed to be like that.
I kind of get that. I also do appreciate because she's also underutilized as a vocalist in this soundtrack in general. Just there's so much to fit in that you can't fit in everybody. I do feel like though I'm a big ballad guy. I like it a lot. Alex, what are your thoughts on Patience?
I actually wrote down Al Green vibes.
Yeah.
Oh, Al
so
Green.
because he has like the hat on and everything. So it's actually funny that you said Marvin Gaye. I was like, hey. I enjoyed the song, but I also felt bad because I didn't love this song because it portrays a really, really great message, especially at that time. Because like you said, a message song, but also I'm not a huge fan of message-based songs because, sometimes I just want to escape and listen to a song and just get into the groove of the song. And listening to it, I picture a million and one different things, especially also that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be symbolic of what's going on, at the time, between like you said, my brother's over in Vietnam, I don't know if I'll ever
pointless war.
Pointless war, and not to mention they're talking about the racial tensions and, there's flashbacks of going on with Effie and being in Detroit and everything, obviously. And so there's a lot of big themes, a lot of symbolism in this song in particular. I think it is important that Eddie Murphy's character, Jimmy, actually sings a song more than anyone else in the cast, given his character growth, his character arc. But it felt bad. I see all this going on, but at the same time, I still didn't like the song as much as I wanted. If that makes sense. And I felt really bad.
and it's sort of the beginning of his end because then he gets kind of stuck in this rut and he just wants to escape and go back to what he used to be. But I do feel though I like it a lot. I do love me some Marvin Gaye. I gave it a download. I just like these kinds of ballads. I dig it. There might be some difference of opinion. Alex, what do you give it?
I would definitely say shuffle it.
Okay, cool.
Personally.
Okay. And Janine?
I would give it a one-time listen. Like I said, I like I like the context and the message behind it more, that this was kind of Jimmy's last chance to do something different, that he was finally excited to do something. And then, Jimmy Foxx just shoots him down again. And that kind of is the beginning of the end for him. So all of that kind of story that kind of starts with this song, I like that more than the actual song. So I would give it a one-time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, we're going to we get back into Effie, and she basically reappears, auditions for Danny Glover's character, who's now aged. I love the makeup in this movie, by the way, how they make everybody like gradually age people. I think they made him younger, and it's just phenomenal how they can gradually age somebody by like 5-6 years. In this case, I think it was 8. Janine, what are your thoughts on Effie's audition? I'm changing.
So it's good to see her kind of come back again. She's still kind of trying to be that diva. And I like that Danny Glover has to kind of talk her out of that. So then you just kind of see her, okay, I'm just going to do my thing. I'm going to let everything else go, let my attitude go, and just do what I know how to do. So I like that that's kind of what was brought out in this song. Great, powerful vocals, super simple song. I liked it. Not something that I really remember that much from all the things on the soundtrack, but great vocals. I like that it's kind of her bit of a comeback, and she's kind of impressing people again, reminding people what she can do again. So I like all that kind of context that's added to it. But in general, as a song, not super memorable for me.
Yeah, it's a very strange generic middle ground between
Yeah.
one night only and I'm not going. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a strange middle ground,
Yeah.
and I don't feel like it really makes itself unique. Even though it works in the film, she needs time to reassess who she is and reestablish who she is. The song itself it's generic is the best way to describe it.
I agree.
Alex, what are your thoughts on I Am Changing?
Y'all suck. I love this.
Okay, go for it. Cool. Go for it.
But listening to this, I thought it was a B. I loved it. I was into it. Yeah, like I mentioned, I really, really enjoyed it. Again, I was like, I don't like to say I was like dancing along while chopping tomatoes or anything, but at the same time, it was definitely, I actually, after I finished watching the scene, this is the only song where it happened to me. I went rewound it and watched this again because I enjoyed this song so much. And and it just, I don't know, something about it just like really kind of, I don't want to say tugged at the heartstrings, but this whole idea of not so much redemption, but she's like, you know what, I still got it. I have my problems. I'm not going to deny that. I've made mistakes and, I am human, but at the same time, I've got something and I'm working toward it. And the lyrics really kind of spoke to me. And I really, really appreciated that. And not to mention, again, it kind of reminded me of Aretha Franklin's Change. No, not Change. Chain of Fools. It kind of reminded me of that. It's
a very Aretha Franklin vibe.
Yeah, it just like there's a handful of moments where it kind of reminded me of the way that she did this, like almost like a growl kind of moment at a handful of notes, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah, this is very Aretha. Now that you say that, I can see the comparisons. 100, and I love that you love it so much because that's the magic of music. It's all subjective. Just to me, it's musically like the lyrics are fine. I just feel like it's just a strange middle ground between two amazing Jennifer Hudson songs. So I'm just gonna say, for me, it's a shuffle. It's not terrible at all. I mean, it's just not as notable to me. Of course, there's differing opinions. Janine, what do you give it?
I would give it a shuffle it as well, kind of being the meat in the sandwich of I'm Telling You and One Night Only. It doesn't have kind of that smooth kind of growl of One Night Only. It doesn't have that powerful emotional punch as strong as I'm Telling You. So kind of the meat in that sandwich, I agree with you. It's a bit middle of the road, but not a terrible song by any means. So definitely a shuffle.
Jennifer Hudson still singing it, which is bar none great.
Yeah.
Alex, you definitely have a different opinion. What do you give it? I'm glad I went to you last.
Y'all are weenies. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I definitely, like I said earlier, I rocked it. I also, when I think of the song, I also think of it as almost like a three-parter. I think of what's coming after. I think of what happened just before musically, So I think of it in the larger scope of the songs, like the three songs in particular. That's how I think of it.
That's a good way to think of it.
Itself, if that makes sense.
There was a beginning, middle, and an end, which we're going to get to. Yeah. So this was interesting talk, but we're going to go right into. Okay. This is where kind of Eddie Murphy's character loses it. He doesn't want to do his schmootsy little ballads anymore. And he just goes right into an impromptu James Brown improv. It is so cool. Alex, what are your thoughts on basically I'm going to call this Jimmy's meltdown. Yeah. What do you consider, what do you like this song?
This is my second favorite song in the movie.
Cool.
I love that. But again, I just love that feeling of, I don't want to say it wasn't, I love that transition where that that moment of it's not chaotic, so that's a wrong word, but that moment where he's like, F it, guys, do this real quick, get out of here, get out of here, and like, let's do it. And he's just like doing his thing, and it's like one of those things where listening to the song, you can't help but like move a little bit, like you're just like. Like you're just doing something, you're tapping your toes, you're bouncing along, kind of thing. but it's so great. Not to mention Eddie Murphy. It's so smooth, and he's watching this though. It's being the first time I saw it. It was such a clear descent into. Again, I don't want to say chaos. That's not the right word, but in his descent into being like, F it. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out with a bang. And he knows it. And I'm going to do something that's, I think, which is ridiculous, which is incredible at the same time, and stupid. He pulled down his pants. On TV. Like,
it's what the 19.
Also, but at the time he was high, so you know.
Yes. And he sadly gets let go of the record company during that whole stint too,
which triggers everything.
Which triggers his entire.
Laurel leaves him.
Yeah.
Officially. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Janine, what are your thoughts on Jimmy's meltdown?
It's very heartbreaking. Like when you see him, okay, I'm tired of singing these sad songs. I want to have some fun. And then he gets the band going. And I like the kind of the crowds behind him. So you're like, okay. And like, you can't help maybe like dance a little bit when he turns around and he's like, Jimmy, want some of that chocolate cake? I was like, okay. Right.
But he's also like singing to his wife, but at the same time, his girlfriend at the same time. Like,
right. And like Laurel's like looking in the crowd. The wife's like trying to look backstage. It's all very scandalous.
And he's not. It doesn't even look like he's trying to hide it. There's like, I swear, he's staring at his girlfriend for like a good 2 minutes while serenading. Yeah, exactly. And then going back to his wife for another 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I like that there's this whole kind of F it moment, because I mean, we all kind of have those moments where we're just like, screw this. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for it. So I like, and I like that the crowd's kind of grooving and getting behind him, and you're kind of grooving a little bit until the pants come down. Yeah. So definitely a great kind of groove of this song. Just as a song in general, that rap is just really kind of fun and has this whole kind of screw everything vibe. I'm just going to do this before everything goes wrong. You kind of are in that moment with him, and I like that.
Yeah, it's a magic moment, but problem with me is it doesn't translate that well on the soundtrack. Yeah. Even though it is a bop, and I'm actually curious how much of that was actually improv, because bands can do that. There are improv bands that can actually come up with riffs and harmonize with each other like that to kind of support somebody who's just. And being Eddie Murphy and his improv chops, I wouldn't be surprised if the song on the soundtrack is actually completely live. I wouldn't be surprised, or some sort of kind of a mixture of the two. Yeah. But the energy is there. I would give it a shuffle. Yeah. Alex, what do you give it?
Man, I'd listen to this song at the gym.
Cool.
I'd listen to this song while running a marathon if I ran marathons at me. So I would have to say, rock it out, man.
Oh yeah, it is a bop. It is a bop. It is a bop.
It's a bop. Okay,
it's great. It's phenomenal. Janine.
I would give it a download it. I like kind of, it definitely has a great groove and funk. I love that vibe of it. If just I'm hearing it as a song. But yeah, the sadness that's kind of behind all of it kind of just takes it down a little bit for me, because I'm thinking about that kind of in the back of my mind.
That makes it better for
me. You love all the drama.
I do.
Well,
it's like, yes, more.
Yeah.
Sadly, though, right after this scene, Jimmy overdoses on heroin, and there's a huge fallout between everybody at the record company, and the writer goes to Effie to produce a song called "One Night Only" for her. And this song is phenomenal. It is one of those songs where it's so powerful, so emotional, and that it's very. This is even more Aretha Franklin. Very, 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 very. It just has that soul. It's phenomenal. One Night Only, Janine. What are your thoughts on One Night Only?
It just has this smooth, low kind of growl to it. It builds. It just has a nice flow to it. And then just even contextually, just kind of her kind of reuniting with her brother, and this kind of being her moment to really shine and put herself out there like she always wanted, like she always knew she was capable of doing, like she always knew she deserved. So just kind of the redemption of the song. And yeah, just so smooth. Love it.
Yeah, Bette Midler has that kind of like so nuanced. And the problem is with this song, not the problem with the song, but the scene itself is that I think Jamie Foxx's character bit off more than he can chew when he tried to take advantage of it. Yeah. Because once he did that, everything for him sort of starts to collapse here in a second. Mm-hmm. But One Night Only is the turning point of the film. One Night Only is easily top tier. Alex, what thoughts on One Night Only? This is Jennifer Hudson's version.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, that's actually my number one, to be honest.
Right.
What can I say? I love songs about drama and anger. Love it. Maybe it's just because I'm not an angry person all that much in general, so I like to get it out and maybe who knows. But this song sorry, my cat is like pawing at me.
It's all good.
But this song is wonderful. Like you said, it's very Aretha Franklin. It watching her perform it, and just listening to it, it reminded me a little bit of Bette Midler in Gypsy, mm-hmm. singing "Everything's Coming Up Roses."
Yeah.
Where she's like shouting out into the mm-hmm. audience. She's like, everyone pay attention to me. I deserve this. Give me the chance. I earned this chance. I know I will succeed. And it has that kind of, again, redemption story aspect to it. Lyrically, I think it's phenomenal. But, Jennifer Hudson, she exhibits a range specific to this song that I don't really think we hear anywhere else in the soundtrack. And I mean, it's Jennifer Hudson. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah. So Jennifer Hudson's version, what do you give it, Alex? It's your number one. I'm assuming it's a rock.
Of course, it's a rocket.
yeah. I think we might be universal with this. This is easily a rocket. Janine is
definitely a rocket for sure.
This was easy. Yeah. Now we're going to get into the disco version. Now this one is where, as I said, Jamie Foxx is taking a little bit too much advantage of his power, because this is where we were talking about how people of color do not have the rights to their songs in this time period. So the record company has the right to what they write and how they produce it and market it. So he decides to make a disco version with Beyonce and the Dreamgirls. And I hate to say this because this makes me sound like a bad guy, but damn, this bops. I like it. I like the disco version. I really like the disco version. It's not as good as Jennifer Hudson's version, but it's really, really good. Alex, what are your thoughts on the disco version? I know that makes me sound bad, but what are your thoughts on the disco version?
I was actually going to say the exact same thing. It's actually in my top 10. I felt bad because like watching them dance and everything, I'm like, I shouldn't be
like this, but it's good.
I shouldn't like this song. I do. But yeah, it's it's definitely, like you said, a bop.
Yeah.
It's really catchy and it's really cool. Like going into compared to One Night Only, where it's Jennifer Hudson, it's a song that I feel, versus a One Night Only by the disco version. It's something I can hear and like dance to mm-hmm. on a to feel energized for the day, versus I'm going to listen to the Jennifer Hudson version while I'm like alone in my car crying. Mm-hmm. So,
and I like also how I also like how in the soundtrack, sort of the Jennifer Hudson version is the soft version, and then it goes into the big version. I just wish on the soundtrack that they had another version of One Night Only, the disco version, with Jennifer Hudson also in it. Yeah. That would have been amazing just to have that, just for like the after credit. Yeah, a combination of both of them. Janine, what are your thoughts on the disco version?
Yeah, I hate to say it too, but I really kind of enjoyed the disco version. Like, I love disco music. Like, for me, I actually listened to kind of the disco-y version of I Need a Hero on the Shrek soundtrack more than I listened to the original version of I Need a Hero. So definitely, like, as a fan of disco music, I really got behind it. And, you're just dancing and like you want like shirtless men with bow ties like dancing for you when you hear this song. Oh, yeah. So just want to point and have just the shirtless dude show up.
Towards the very end where they pose for a second, I was like, are those lightsabers? For a second, because they like whipped them out and they like were like pointing and I was like, do they have lightsabers?
Mm-hmm.
But, I was like, what?
Definitely had a great groove. It really kind of up-tempo, fun version. So you feel bad for liking it. It's kind of good. It's kind of good.
There's as I said, the context for it is really, really shady, but it's phenomenal. And I like how you compared it to I Need a Hero, because it sounds like I Need a Hero. Now, the Shrek version of I Need a Hero has that soft piano part at the beginning.
Yeah.
If we could have had like a mixture of the two, that would have been great. Yeah. But again, for me, it's a rockin'. I like it, even though the context in the film makes me sound like a bad guy, and all of us a bad guy, kind of. But it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Janine, what do you give it?
Oh, I hate to do this. I mean, it makes me evil, but I gotta say rockin'. I really had fun with this track.
This was in your top 10, Alex. Am I assuming it's a rockin'? Yeah, this is good. I wish that they could have made a bad version just for movie purposes, just to kind of make us feel like, okay, they did kind of schlock it up, but it's hard to deny it's kind of good.
At least with the Cadillac one, it's like clearly not
exactly the same.
It's like
it's different enough.
But it's just a different version, but it's obviously not as good. But this one, you're like, oh,
I think you made it too good. I think they made it too good. Yeah, it's good though. It's good. We're good.
Yeah.
Now this is where Beyonce starts to break, because she kind of realizes that, oh crap, one night only. I stole that from Effie, and she has a lot of guilt. And this is her in the recording studio with a song called "Listen," where she's basically talking to Jamie Foxx's character through song, giving him eye contact, and basically telling him that she just wants to be her own woman. Listen, Alex, what are your thoughts on Listen?
It's definitely my top 10. It's actually right above the disco version. It's actually my number 7. I really enjoyed it. It's also it's actually one of the only movies in the movie where Dina and Curtis, they actually maintained eye contact for an extended period of time, which I thought was kind of interesting. So there is that extra emotion. Usually it's one is looking at the other, and while the other is looking at someone else. But I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed it because lyrically I thought it was really fantastic.
It's a powerful scene.
Yeah. But I didn't love it, the voices as much as some of the other ones.
It's because this is where you actually get to hear Beyonce sing, because she's really kind of muffled in with all the Dreamgirls stuff. This is her at her solo. She's not a Jennifer Hudson kind of belter. She's not a powerhouse, but she's still Beyonce, and it still sounds beautiful. Janine, what are your thoughts on Listen?
Definitely agree. I enjoy this song. It kind of pulls me out of it, because if I were just to kind of listen to the soundtrack, the song is just way too modern. When you're listening to all these songs that kind of feel very of the era, and this
of the 60s and 50s,
and then like you're kind of in that zone and that vibe, and then you get the song that feels very of today and very modern.
It feels very Adele.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
So I like that, but I like that it's kind of her message song, kind of fighting back against, Curtis and all his kind of nonsense. So I like the power behind the song, like the power of the vocals. I like the message of the song. But if I'm listening to this as part of this kind of era-based soundtrack, it kind of pulls me out a little bit.
I actually completely agree with you, because if you're here listening to rockabilly, you're listening to Motown, you're listening to kind of like the Supremes, you're listening to disco. This is all 60s, 70s, 50s music. You're getting into adult contemporary, which is late 90s, early 2000s. So I feel like musically it does take you out of the soundtrack. And for that reason, just because it's not musically concise with everything else, it gets a little bit low of a mark for me, which would be a shuffle it. Even though the performance is phenomenal and the scene is phenomenal, musically it just doesn't mesh with the soundtrack. Jenny, I'm going to go back to you before I go to Alex. What do you give it?
100% agree with everything you said. Definitely a shuffle it for me. Great vocals, great message behind the song, powerful kind of moment for her character, and it's nice getting to see her character on her own kind of singing for once. But I love kind of I really delved into the era and those kinds of vibes of songs, and then this kind of just pulls me out of it a little bit. So
I can totally see that. Yep. Yeah. Alex, do you have any differing opinion?
Honestly, I'm just reaffirming everything you're saying. I would probably download it personally. Lyrically, again, I feel it's very strong. But also at the same time, this is like one of the only times in the movie we're actually really seeing Beyonce be able to really sing some really great notes. I mean, sing some really great notes for sure. And, you know, she's obviously an amazing, talented, amazing singer. You know, it's just that she's constantly compared to Jennifer Hudson's character, Effie, obviously. And they both have very different styles. And I am actually kind of glad that they didn't put them in the same styles, because if they did put them in the same styles, I do feel like it would be very obvious that not only is Jennifer Hudson's character, Effie, that much better, but also it would make it seem like Dina almost didn't deserve
that spot.
That spot. And I do feel like she does deserve, obviously, success. She's obviously she's incredibly talented, but at the same time, does she deserve to be at the same level as Effie? That's another conversation.
It was all based on looks, because they wanted the slimmer model, which that's another discussion.
I mean, again, it's, you know, it's I felt like it was very necessary for her character, but that's the thing. I am actually kind of glad it was slightly more modernized, but again, in terms of the whole soundtrack as a whole, it does stand out as not stand out, but it is a little out of place. Okay. But I like that it's supposed to be out of place. I feel like it's very necessary for it to be out of place, considering the context of the movie.
I appreciate that viewpoint, because that's totally valid. We're gonna get right then into the finale, basically the start of the finale, which is Hard to Say Goodbye. Now, the Dreamgirls are doing their last show in a theater, and everybody from the family is there. Everybody and all their fans are there, and this is the start of the finale. I'm gonna say this right here off the bat. We're going to get into both of these finale songs, and I don't think they're as strong as they should have been. I don't feel like this has that show-stopping kind of finale feel that it really needed to have. I really wish that Jennifer Hudson's character came out sooner and came out during this song and not just the last one. That's another discussion we're going to have. But Janine, what are your thoughts on Hard to Say Goodbye? I don't know if you agree with me or not.
I do agree with your points, definitely, for sure.
Okay.
I like that there was some kind of emotion there, because you've kind of on this journey with these girls for so long. I found myself just subconsciously like waving goodbye. You know, so I did feel the emotion of the song, but I do kind of agree that it's kind of like the Dreamgirls moment. You wanted that to be stronger than what it was. So agree with you there with those points. Definitely wanted a little bit more, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, and the fourth dream girl that's with them is really underdeveloped. I really felt like that she probably should have had a little bit more to do, kind of so that we could have gotten a little more attached to her. So when we have all four of them on stage, it means a little bit more. Because right now she just seems like a stand-in. Throughout the entire film she did. I don't even remember what her name is. Sadly. Alex, what are your thoughts on Hard to Say Goodbye, the part one of the finale?
I agree, honestly, with everything. And I felt, honestly, I kind of felt really bad about the other, like, dream girl, like you're saying, because at the end of the day, you know, they were saying this, like, almost 10 years rolls by between, you know, by the time they separate to the end where they come together for that final performance.
For 10 years.
That's very long time. And at that same time, that third girl that we don't know the name of, she's been with that group
for like years.
Effie.
I kind of felt bad, because I'm like, and they're like four characters, they're like four dream girls. Same time, I'm like, I've been here longer than her. What? Like, what are you talking about? I would be like, come on, dude. But at the same time, it is kind of funny how they, and you know, the whole video where Dina, she's like reminiscing, and they're showing that video, be like, oh, the Dreamgirls, they came from Detroit, and they were best friends together, and they show like the three girls, and then there's the third photoshopped where it's like clearly they weren't together, but at the same time they're trying to pretend like they were together. And I just remember seeing that, and I was like, But yeah, I you know, just reaffirming everything you guys are saying, but man, but that she really should have gotten an extra song or something. I felt so bad.
Just to develop her a little bit more.
Can we just get a name?
We don't think we got a name. I don't think we got a name.
Played by Sharon Leal, but I can't remember her name, her character name at all.
That's going to be a question in the Schmodown. Who's
the fourth dream girl?
Okay, but to me, I just feel like this is just a one-time listen kind of deal. It's sad because it's a finale piece. Janine, what do you give it?
I would give it a one-time listen for sure. Like, I like what it was kind of supposed to mean. I felt myself doing the wave, but I could listen to it that one time and be satisfied.
Alex?
By the way, her name is Michelle Morris.
Okay.
Okay.
Good to know. Was that mentioned at some point? I have no clue. But yeah, I would have to say definitely a one-time listen. I wanted to like it more, but I didn't, unfortunately.
All right, guys. So we're getting into the last song, track number 19. Okay, so Dreamgirls, the finale, is basically the reprise of Dreamgirls, but Effie gets a bigger featured role. As we said, she comes out at the end of the last song and they introduce her, and this is their big finale. Again, this is a problem I have with the Dreamgirls song itself, is that it doesn't have that punch for even a finale piece. I feel like, honestly, it would have been great to have, we were talking about the one night only disco version with it as a duet. And I feel like that would have just bridged the gap between the hard feelings of that song and them together. And that actually ending the whole show on a big showstopper like that would have been phenomenal, in my opinion. Just a reprise of that with them two doing it as a duet would have been great. I think it was a missed opportunity. But again, you have to end with Dreamgirls because it's the name of the show. Yeah. But I just have mixed feelings about just I just don't feel like the song had much impact as a song by itself. It works for the staging and to close off everything, and Jamie Foxx realizing, oh shit, that's my daughter. Yeah. Which is very abrupt. He kind of just sees how she's looking at her.
At somebody in the crowd, and then he goes down there, and
it's very, very abrupt. I guess they just didn't have time to develop that. Yeah. Alex, what are your thoughts on the Dreamgirls finale? Oh.
Same as last time. I liked it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. I mean, like I barely remember it. That's how like most of the other songs I remember very clearly. Yeah. This one, it's like it's fairy dust. It evaporated for me. You know?
That shouldn't be the case for a finale of a musical.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of like
the title song as well.
Exactly.
The best way to describe it is it's Dreamgirls, but Effie is featured more. So it's more Jennifer Hudson. Yes. That's essentially what it is.
It's always a good thing, yeah.
Which makes it better than the one previous. But since this is judged as a finale piece, that makes it a completely different story, and it's a difficult situation in my opinion. But Janine, what are your thoughts on the finale of Dreamgirls?
Well, it's kind of like with Move. Like I liked that kind of Jennifer Hudson got to kind of ad lib, and you don't really hear that a lot in kind of earlier songs. Like they there's distinct kind of things, and like the lead singer doesn't really ad lib and go off on these kinds of crazy runs and things. But Jennifer Hudson actually did this in this song, so I liked that aspect that she kind of went off, and they were singing the basic Dreamgirls stuff, and then she was kind of doing her own like ad libbing. So I loved that, and she looked gorgeous. But other than that, like I think her just kind of getting to ad lib and do more, that made it a little bit better than the original version. But yeah, like you said, for a big kind of finale piece, it wasn't as strong as it should have been, I think.
Yeah. I feel like the missed opportunity was one night only. I feel like that would have made a much bigger of an impact just to kind of make that a duet. But to me, since it's a finale piece, I have to judge it by a finale. And a finale, it does not hold up. So to me, sadly, it would be a one-time listen, just because on the cusp of it being the finale of your movie, musically, you're not making it too memorable. To one of our panelists doesn't even remember it, and two of us can just describe it as just one song, but with more vocal. So I just feel like it's vocal fluff and kind of, I hate to say it, a little lazy. I feel like it could have been something. It could have been something more, and that sucks. Alex, what do you give Dreamgirls the finale?
Shuffle it, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. My not clear memory of the song. I remember being like, cool. That's all I got.
That's still a problem with the finale song. You need to kind of be able to talk about. This is not "Don't Feed the Plants" from Little Shop. This is Janine, what are your thoughts? What do you give it?
I would give it a shuffle it, just because I do enjoy kind of the ad libs of Jennifer Hudson and kind of what she's kind of bringing her flavor onto it. But yeah, other than that, not as special as it should be for your title finale number. But if it came up on my shuffle, I wouldn't turn it.
Dreamgirls with
I would.
Yeah. So I get you guys. So that does it for the actual soundtrack itself. That was pretty simple. But we're gonna go to one more section of the show.
Okay.
Actually, two more sections. This one first, before we go into top three, bottom three, and give you your rankings if you have them. We're going to actually go through overall ranking or rating of what you would consider the soundtrack itself and your overall thoughts. Alex, I'm going to go to you first. What are your overall thoughts on Dreamgirls? And would you give the soundtrack itself a rockin', download it, one-time listen? Would you shuffle it, or would you just skip it entirely? What are your overall thoughts on Dreamgirls, the soundtrack?
What if I said skip it?
Go for it then.
No, I'm kidding. I would never. I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster, or am I? I would have to say probably I would download it. Like I said, I would rock it to a handful of songs, but I wouldn't say I would label that to enough of the songs to rocket the entire album, I guess. But a good third of the songs I thoroughly enjoy, for sure. Yeah.
To me, I would personally give it a shuffle it, just because going through all the songs itself, there were some really, really good songs. But at the same time, your finale brings it down. The title track for me brings it down. There were a couple songs that just, you give or take. You have One Night Only. You have a lot of great songs. You have a lot of Jennifer Hudson solos, but everything else kind of becomes a little mediocre when you're listening to the soundtrack itself. It's a phenomenal film. Phenomenal. It's great. Watch it. And I feel like our ratings would be a little higher if we could actually put in some more of the songs that were cut from the one disc soundtrack. Because there's a couple that are really good. There's a Jackson 5 song in the film that's great.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and I like Heavy. I like the Heavy song too.
So Heavy was great.
Heavy's great, and it's
Love You I Do.
Love You I Do. Or as we were saying, the guy that won the talent show at the beginning, he had a great song that was kind of like B.B. King.
Yeah.
But Janine, since you're the guest from the Schmo now, what do you consider? What do you give everything that we just said?
I kind of agree with Alex. I would give it a download it. Many songs I would happily listen to, just kind of on a, I would download this album because, the majority of the songs I really did enjoy, to kind of get into that era and remember this movie, because in general, even if you didn't like the soundtrack, I think it's a great movie. I think it's a great kind of iteration of a musical. So yeah, I think I would definitely download it because I think I liked the majority of what was given on the soundtrack. So.
Yeah, so what we're going to do now is, since there's 20 tracks, I gave you the option to do top three or bottom three. Or I think in Alex's case, you pretty much ranked a lot of them. So I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say that my bottom three, we're going to go through, my bottom three are Hard to Say Goodbye, It's All Over, and the Dreamgirls and Dreamgirls finale, because I feel like the finale needed to be, I just felt like if it's a finale, it needed to be stronger, and that's what brings it down to my lowest tier. And my top three are: number one is I'm Telling You I'm Not Going. My number two is One Night Only, Jennifer Hudson's version. And number three was Fake Your Way to the Top, because I really, really love the James Brown kind of. I love Eddie Murphy's character, and that really, really kind of dignifies what his charisma was. We didn't get to talk about him too much since he died halfway through the movie. So his charisma is phenomenal. Alex, what are your ratings? I'm actually interested. What all did you rank for your stuff?
I liked how. By the way, I liked how you say charisma. You said charisma.
Oh, charisma.
You said it almost angrily, charisma. Which I thought was so funny in that context. Yeah, because also we're the charisma of a really weird guy that has a lot of problems. But at the same time, that happens a lot. I would have to say my number one was obviously One Night Only. Two, I Mean You No Harm. Jimmy's Rap, or like you said, Jimmy's Descent into Madness, or like what you said. Three, Am I Telling You I'm Not Going? Four, I Am Changing, and five, It's All Over.
Cool, awesome. And what are your bottom?
15.
Give me a bottom five, yeah.
Okay, bottom five. 15 was Move. 4, Heavy. 13, Patience.
Okay.
because again, it's just like it's a message song, and I feel like listening to it, I feel like I would be in tears. And I am not going to go listen to that actively. It's just, I'm not going to lie. I do not want to cry actively every day. So that 12 Effie Sing Me a Song and 11 was Dreamgirls.
All right. Janine, top 3, bottom 3. What do you have for me?
My bottom 3 would be Patience, just because like it had that Marvin Gaye like sensibility, but it didn't have that Marvin Gaye groove that I was looking for. Yep. What was the other one? The I Need You, the kind of cringy, like him trying to fit into this crowd that he just does not fit into. Kind of very forgettable for me. And then Cadillac Car, just a little corny lyrics, just a little cheesy for me. My top 3 would be it's kind of a tie between Move and Fake Your Way to the Top. I just love the groove of those songs for sure. Definitely. And I'm telling you, and kind of I think my number 1 is actually Step Into the Bad Side.
Step Into the Bad Side was my number 4.
I love that groove of it. I love kind of the evil, kind of sinister vibe. I love kind of the all male kind of running vocals at the dance break. Just kind of a cool badass song. Like I love Step Into the Bad Side.
Badass. I like how all 3 of us were very different in what we rated and ranked. So that made everything very interesting. So guys, it has been an episode of Suddenly Soundtracks where we judge a movie solely based on the soundtrack that it provides. So I'm going to go over to Alex. Alex, where can the good people find you online? I know I know you have a huge channel.
You can find me here on Twitter. But yeah, I'm part of the Call to Action crew, and every single Wednesday I host a little show called Schmobates where we argue and verbally battle each other to the death and all things Schmodown, asking Schmodown's biggest questions while debating them and arguing them, really. And on Tuesdays, I do a little show called Cinema Bias with Video Drew. So we really talk about our personal biases against watching certain new movies, certain directors, genres, whatever it may be, and really kind of open each other up to watching brand new movies. So that's always fun. But definitely check us out there.
Drew is phenomenal. She was just on last week's episode when this airs, Phantom of the Paradise. She was phenomenal. She's a great person to talk to about music. She's phenomenal. Janine, where can the good people find you online?
Hi, you can find me at Janine Devine on Twitter and Instagram. I have a podcast feed called It's a Wonderful Podcast with my great co-host Morgan Robinson. We have 3 shows there. You can find it where all podcasts are found. We have Machine Mondays every Monday where I'm talking Schmodown stuff. We have Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday where I force Morgan to watch like a related series of films or like a franchise of films he's missed. And to keep the music love going right now, this month we are talking about movies about music. So this Wednesday we will be talking about Hustle and Flow. Then Friday, we have It's a Wonderful Podcast where we give love to those classic films.
Perfection. You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChrisClark8788. Those numbers mean nothing. Make sure to check out the Schmodown. Make sure to check out SCN. Make sure to check out the PJ Campbell Network and all our related content. This entire community is phenomenal. From Call to Actions, Alex Mack, from Janine the Machine, and from myself, Chris Clark, we say to you, keep rocking.